Hi everyone, Diana Rankin here with your weekly soul messages and psychic predictions. And let me take my glasses off. I forget to do that because I'm so used to wearing them, and I know they create a glare that gets in people's way. So this is our 44th week of the year 2019, and this is for October 27th to November the 2nd. Thank you all for coming and coming back every week. Thank you for your lovely comments. I am going to get around to answering them. It's just, things are just kind of piling up on me right now. We will get a message from Philip later in the book. This is my oracle book. Think left page, right page, and use your intuition to do that. And I have asked you if you would like me to ask Philip questions. Send them in the comments below or send them to me through my website. However it works best for you. I get to as many of those as I can. We have 2 questions this week, but the one has a long answer, so I'm going to save the next question for next week. I do ask that those questions be of interest to our entire audience, not just a personal question about your life, please. Let's keep that. If you care for a personal reading, please contact me, and I'm happy to set that up for you. You can, again, do that through the website, which is below. But let's keep this time together, general questions for everyone. This question, I'm actually going to read the question because it gets a little complicated, but I think the answer also is a little complicated, but I think we can make it easy to understand. So here's our question. I've heard you say that we all raised our hands and volunteered, even pleaded to come to the earth plane. I understand we come to have experiences, to learn, to heal old wounds. I understand that the energy is different here. That there's resistance. I like to think of it as lifting weights to get stronger. I think that's a great analogy, by the way. And duality and choices. But I still don't fully understand why we come. I don't understand what is possible to accomplish here that isn't possible in spirit form. Why do we have to come into human form to heal old wounds? What can we learn here that we can't learn in spirit form? Why do we need to forgive here instead of just waiting until we're back in spirit form, where we have a better perspective and when it would seem much easier? Well, Philip, that was our question, and let's see what answer Philip gave us, shall we? And it's a little lengthy, but I'll just start reading. Philip says, yes, it is a privilege to be the one chosen for life in the earth plane. Where else can you have the individual experience of humanness? Let us go back to the beginning. Imagine before there was human existence. Humans, as we know them, weren't even a thought. There was nothing. Shall we call this the Great Void? After eons, the Great Void created wind. So for eons, wind swept within the Great Void, and from this came the planets and the stars, the moon and the sun and the earth. As evolution continued, water covered the planet that came to be known as Earth. And then came the land. The water began to know itself, and from its consciousness, it created a single cell different from itself. The consciousness of the water spread, and more single cells came. Then came the time when one single cell touched another, and something happened. The consciousness recognized itself. Before there were single cells, all was one. Bonding of the 2 single cells became the bonding of 3, then 4, then 5, and so on. Eventually, the bonding of these single cells became so great that a new thought emerged from the consciousness. Some moved to land and became air-breathing. As the consciousness grew, more was experienced. Some became creatures that walked on land. Others became one who flew through the air, while some stayed in the water. Consciousness continued to develop. Eventually, humans came into existence. A species, like all those that have come before, continues to develop and change. Humans are evolving and changing into their next evolution, even as we speak. This does not happen quickly, but as individual consciousness joins together with others and creation of thought is manifest. It begins with one cell mating with another, who mates with another, and so on. We explain this process to allow you to remember in original spirit form all is one. However, over eons of time, the one has become the expression of many. For each individual to experience the consciousness of another, the collective cells of the individual choose to experience life as that species. For example, how can one truly comprehend evil or good without the experience of both? The experience of darkness comes because of the experience of light. One knows up in relationship to down. When we pass from earth forms, those in existence in the third dimension, we do not return to the great void. Instead, we become individualized spirit form. We are able to view and review all that we have experienced in the third dimension, but without the physical means to make alterations. This means that if we harmed someone in the third dimension, we are unable to make reparations. We are able to see that we did harm, but to fully understand, to experience the energy of the harm, we must have the experience of the harm. We understand the experience by having the experience. A human, for example, cannot fully understand the experience of life as an ant without living through life in ant form. As the individual consciousness evolves through multiple life forms, it must rest between lives in the third dimension, as well as prepare for the next experience. This is the purpose of Spirit World, as you know it. Eventually, as the individual consciousness completes its cycle, it will return to the great void that is no longer void, but is now just light, what you would call pure love. The great void has come to know itself as love through the experiences of the individual journeys of its opposite. Remember, we know dark only because we know light. And then I said, thank you, Philip. This gives us a lot to contemplate. It is simple and yet quite complex. If I'm understanding correctly, Spirit World has multiple layers, just as life here has. And Philip answers, this is correct. And then I say, and we need to have the experience in the human form to fully understand the experience. And Philip says, that is correct. Whew. Pretty complicated, isn't it? And I did not ever think about Spirit World having multiple levels. That was new information for me. So thank you very much for asking that question. I do have a couple of predictions for this week, but first I want to say next week we're going to address the question, why do different spiritual teachers and different psychics have different take on things? The easy answer for that, which is mine, is we have different life experiences, as do our guides, and we have different, maybe the ego gets involved, maybe it doesn't. But what we just learned, that there are different levels in spirit form, I think kind of answers that question a little bit. But we're going to ask Philip that question next week and get Philip's take on it, because Philip is much, much much wiser than I. So we're going to get our message from Philip this week. But first I want to say, hang on. It's going to be, it can get rougher. Sometimes we feel it can't get rougher, but it can, and it will. And we're moving into this period of time where we are evolving into this new species. And I think as part of that species, we will not be male or female down the road. We'll not only identify, but perhaps our physical bodies will take on both. Again, we're evolving as a species. That's very scary to many, many people as the world changes, and climate change is certainly something to be concerned about. At the same time, it may be helping us move into this new dimension of who humans are. I don't have the answer for that, but what I do want you to know is climate change is very real. It is very difficult to be taking place, especially for our young people, because they need to inhabit this planet long after the rest of us are gone. So I want to say, take care of yourselves. I want to also ask all of you, if you will, to every day, for only 2 minutes, only for 30 seconds, imagine that pure divine light of pure love coming through the top of your head, filling your whole being, and coming out through your heart, and allowing that pure divine light to encircle the planet Earth. You might want to put a little extra light on the different leaders of the world and in the different places of the world, especially in the Middle East, in Washington, D.C., along the East Coast, and along the West Coast of the U.S. In fact, coastal lines right now everywhere should probably can use a little extra white light. The Middle East is a problem right now in the sense that there's an awful lot of anger there. A lot of anger also in my country, in the U.S., and we need to not tamper that as well. By tampering it down, it won't help. What we need to do, and you've heard me say this, that we heal like this. We had to break open the wound, and we need to heal like this. Help us do that. It's up to all of us. Help us avoid another major attack like 9/11. Keep seeing our world in love. Let's get a message, shall we? Think that left page, right page, and then we just do this, and whatever page it opens to. I'm hearing, and I always read the opposite page as well. It's not the general message, but it may be a personal message. So if I say left page, which is what I'm going to say, but you got right, please listen to the right page, because that's a personal message for you. The left page says, imagine this, it's about what we were just talking about. The growth of a garden comes only after many hours of tilling the soil and pulling the weeds. My friends, we are creating a new garden. I don't know that I'll see it in my lifetime, other than in my private, personal world, which is where a lot of love exists, in part because of all of you, and I'm grateful for that. But let's create that love in our own world, and as we do, let it go out to the greater world. So the growth of a garden comes only after many hours of tilling the soil and pulling the weeds. Let's create a beautiful garden of love. On the other side, it says, on the right page, it says, life is created from within, not from without. Life is created from within, not from without. I thank you all for being with me today. I thank you for adding love and joy to our world, adding laughter and beauty. So important that we do this. And I thank you for the love that you send to Daisy and the kitties and all of the two-legged ones here. And I thank you for receiving our love. Until we meet again, my friends, take care.